Members of my administration have been in discussions with the pharmaceutical industry to find a way to bring down costs of prescription drugs for America's seniors. And I'm pleased to report that over the weekend, we reached an understanding that will help close the notorious donut hole in Medicare Part D. The way the program is structured, Medicare covers up to $2,700 in yearly prescription costs and then stops. And the coverage starts back up when the costs exceed $6,100, which means between $2,700 and $6,100, folks are out of luck. So as part of the health care reform I expect Congress to enact this year, Medicare beneficiaries whose spending falls within this gap will now receive a discount on prescription drugs of at least 50% from the negotiated price their plan pays. To that end, the pharmaceutical industry has committed to reduce its draw on the healthcare system by $80 billion over the next 10 years as part of overall healthcare reform. Real healthcare reform that reduces the spiraling costs of health services and extends quality, affordable health coverage to all Americans will require these kinds of commitments throughout the system. Now, drug and insurance companies stand to benefit when tens of millions more Americans have coverage. So we're asking them, in exchange, to make essential concessions to reform the system and help reduce costs. It's only fair. Within the first 100 days of my administration, we are going to have a big table, and everybody's going to be invited. Labor, employers, doctors, nurses, hospital administrators, patient advocate groups, the drug and insurance companies, they'll all get a seat at the table. They just won't get to buy every chair. And we will work on this process publicly. It'll be on C-SPAN. It will be streaming over the net. And every time we hit a glitch where somebody says, well, no, we can't lower drug prices because of the R&D costs that drug companies need, well, we'll present data and facts that make it more difficult for people to carry the water of the special interests because it's public. And if they start running Harry and Louise ads, I'll run my own ads, or I'll send out something on YouTube. I'm president. I'll be able to. I'll let them know what the facts are. We are not going to make some of these changes unless we change how business is done in Washington. The reason that we can't negotiate for prescription drugs under the Medicare prescription drug plan is because the drug companies specifically sought and obtained a provision in that bill that prevented us from doing it.
Thank you.
And unless we change that politics, we're going to continue to see the waste that we're seeing in the entitlement programs. Pharmaceutical industry wrote into the prescription drug plan that Medicare could not negotiate with drug companies. And you know what? The chairman of the committee who pushed the law through went to work for the pharmaceutical industry making $2 million a year. Imagine that. That's an example of the same old game playing in Washington. I don't want to learn how to play the game better. I want to put an end to the game playing.
That's what I will do in bringing all parties together. Not negotiating behind closed doors, but bringing all parties together and broadcasting those negotiations on C-SPAN so that the American people can see what the choices are. Because part of what we have to do is enlist the American people in this process and overcoming the special interests and the lobbyists. This is something that I've been talking about consistently. What I want to do is increase transparency and accountability to offset the power of the special interests and the lobbyists. If the drug companies or a member of Congress who's carrying water for the drug companies wants to argue that we should not negotiate for the cheapest available price on drugs, then I want them to make that argument in front of the American people, and I will have experts who explain that, in fact, it is legitimate for drug companies to make profits, but they are making outsized profits on the backs of senior citizens who need those prescription drugs. And that is an argument that the American people have to be involved with, otherwise we're not going to get any plan.
Senator Clinton,
Then we'll tell the pharmaceutical companies, thanks, but no thanks for overpriced drugs. Drugs that cost twice as much here as they do in Europe and Canada and Mexico. We'll let Medicare negotiate for lower prices. We'll stop drug companies from blocking generic drugs that are just as effective and far less expensive. We'll allow the safe reimportation of low-cost drugs from countries like Canada. Year after year, election after election, candidates make promises about fixing health care and cutting costs. And then they go back to Washington, and nothing changes. And the American people don't get any relief. And when the next election rolls around, exactly. Next election rolls around, even more Americans are uninsured. Even more families are struggling to pay their medical bills. Well, we are here today because we know that if we're going to make real progress this time, we've got to do things differently. We will not take a dime from Washington lobbyists or special interest PACs. We're going to change how Washington works. They will not fund my party. They will not run our White House, and they will not drown out the voices of the American people when I'm President of the United States of America. You have my word. I will never back down. I will never give up. I will never stop fighting until we have fixed our health care system and no family ever has to go what you're going through, what my mother went through, what so many people go through every single day in this country. That is my promise to you. And if you will stand here today, stand with me in this work, if you will talk to your friends and talk to your neighbors and get people to the polls and give me your vote, then together we will not just win Virginia, we will win this general election. And together, you and I, we will transform this nation and transform the world. God bless you. God bless the United States of America.